Hare Srinivasa. Namaskara Illarigo. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe, and getting vaccinated. We have taken a short break for a couple of months. We are now back. Before we commence today's program, we'll do a short prayer. Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Acharya Pavanosmakam Acharyani cha Bharati Devo Narayana Shishah Devi Mangala Devata Pujyaya Raghavendraya Satyadharmarataya cha Bhajatam Kalpavrukshaya Namatam Kamadhinavi. So welcome again back to the Pravachana series Madhwa Gnana Vruksha from the Gnanakalpavruksha wing of New England Sri Raghavendra Swami Vrindavana, NESRSB, Boston. Many of you have attended the previous sessions from February to April when we had the life and works of Srimad Madhwacharya and Shishya Parampara. And we are following up to that, we had the second part of the series from June onwards on Dasa Sahitya, where Sundar gave an introduction on Haridas Sahitya and a brief about the life and works of Sri Purandara Dasaru. In July, we had another session where Sundaravaru talked about two stalwarts in the Dasa tradition, Sri Kanaka Dasaru and Sri Gopala Dasaru. In September, we had another session on another pillar among the four pillars, Sri Vijay Dasaru, right? The others being Purandara Dasaru, Jagannatha Dasaru, and Gopala Dasaru. So we continue with the same Dasa Sahitya series today. In fact, today would be the concluding session in the Dasa Sahitya series. So today, Sundaravaru will be talking about the much acclaimed Haridasa, Sri Jagannatha Dasaru, whose magnum opus Sri Harikatamrita Sara is very widely and well known. It's a comprehensive compendium of several pearls of philosophical wisdom, especially from the Madhwa philosophy. And you may also be aware that recently a feature film was launched on Sri Jagannatha Dasaru, and Sundaravaru will be referring to that also in today's talk. And we welcome Sundaravaru once again. He has been very gracious in doing this enlightening series of pravachanas for us pretty much over this whole year, starting from the Madhvanami Day in February of 2021. And we plan to continue this series into 2022 with more topics. We're still deciding on that, and we would encourage the participants to share their suggestions with us. And incidentally, we have all the videos, recorded videos and presentations in the Gnanakalpavruksha website for your reference. So please visit our website and learn more from these presentations as such. Right? So without much delay, once again, welcome Sri Sundaravaru for today's presentation. And we are all eagerly looking forward once again to your mesmerizing talk. Thank you, Sundaravaru. Welcome.
Namaskara, Sujit, and hearty welcome to all the participants of today's session by Madhwa Gnana Vruksha. And today we are going to be discussing about the life and works of Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. We started this journey, as Sujit was saying, exactly in the month of February on the auspicious occasion of Sri Madhvanami. And since then, we have looked at different aspects of philosophy. And towards the end, we've come to that stage when we looked at the Dasa Sahitya, one of the very, very unique features of Madhva philosophy itself, and saw some great contributions coming from some of the stalwarts of the Dasa Sahitya. So today we are here to discuss, to know more about the life and the very interesting personality of Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. So as we get into the topic, what we would like to look at is take a very, very brief prelude in terms of what Dasa Sahitya, where does it fall in that spectrum of knowledge that is there. This is something that's familiar to people who have attended the earlier sessions. If you have not attended, I would request you to go and watch those sessions where we have described this in greater detail. But for the benefit of the people who are attending it for the first time, and for to present a quick recap to the others, our whole philosophy, the Madhva philosophy, is based on the Vedas. So when we say we are based on the Vedas, that means we treat the Vedas as the ultimate proof. That is why it's called the Vedic philosophy. And on top of that, the stand the Puranas, which we are all very, very familiar with. However, the Vedas are abstract and they're very vast by sheer volume, and they have profound meanings. It is very difficult, sometimes even confusing to understand the basic purport of the Vedas. So we needed a framework to understand the Vedas, and that is nothing but the Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras give us the direction into what the Vedas actually have to tell us and what are those lessons that we can learn. And then we read the Vedas so that we are able to recognize those purports even more clearly. And then we say the other part of the Indian scriptures is the Puranas or our scriptures like the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so on. Now, despite having the Vedas and the Puranas quite clearly written, there were still some disputes about what the interpretations were and what are the big lessons that these scriptures are giving us. So whether it is the Brahma Sutras, again open to interpretation, the Vedas can be sometimes abstract, the Puranas again open to interpretation. So Sri Madhwacharya took incarnation and he wrote the Sarvamula Granthas or the 37 texts which helped correct several inaccuracies in the way we have understood the scriptures. The scriptures remaining the same, the interpretation had gone haywire, and he came and he corrected our understanding of those scriptures. So those are the invaluable 37 granthas. And for us to understand these granthas with absolute clarity and in a format that suits our scholastic abilities, the Tika Granthas or the commentaries and the Tippanis, which are elaboration of Sarvamula Granthas, took, came into place. Now, one of the big revolutions that happened during Sri Madhwacharya's time was the start of what we call the Haridasa Sahitya, which was basically the same scriptures written in the form of songs and presented in a musical format, replete with all the richness that poetry can add to this wonderful methodology of presenting the scriptures. Of course, with the big benefit of having been presented in the local language of the state at that time, which is of Karnataka, which is Kannada. So, this Dasa Sahitya combines three beautiful things: great music, great literature, and above all, profound philosophy, all coming together in the form of Dasa Sahitya. And you will see that there are two arrows of Haridasa Sahitya, which basically are there to indicate that the Haridasa Sahitya actually covers the entire gamut of scriptures. So if you just listen to a Purandaradasa Kriti, at the face of it, it looks like a song. It looks like a devotional song, which it is. But when you actually read the profound meanings of what that song actually has to tell us, the meaning gets very, very profound. So that is how the scriptures are organized. As I said, the start of the Haridasa Sahitya happened at the time of Dvadasha Stotra itself, which is one of the 37 texts that Madhwacharya had written. And there is also a belief that Sri Madhwacharya had written a very specific book on the classical music, which unfortunately we have lost over the period of time, which could have probably inspired his disciples, especially Sri Purandaradasa, to, to form a syllabus for Carnatic classical music. So Dasa Sahitya started with the Sri Dvadasha Stotra. Though it was set in Sanskrit, it had the beauty of the music, it had the beauty of the philosophy, and lovely lyrics to go with it. Now, one of his contemporary Shishya, Sri Narahari Tirtha, although he was from the state of Orissa, is believed to have written the first Kriti in Kannada of Dasa Sahitya. So, what is important for us to note is Dasa Sahitya had its origin at the same time as Sri Madhwacharya's time itself. It is not an afterthought, it is not a dilution of any sort. but just another way and another medium and another channel to give the profound lessons of our scriptures and make it reach the common man who probably does not have an understanding of Sanskrit to the extent that is required to understand the Sanskrit text. His, the people who succeed him, Sri Jayatirtha, again has written one kriti which is in Dasa Sahitya. But the real impetus for Dasa Sahitya came during the time of Sri Sripadarajaru, who himself wrote several kritis in the with the Ankita or the signature name Rangavithala. And then Sri Vyasaraja, Sri Vadaraja, Sri Vijayendra Tirtha, and our beloved Sri Raghavendra Swamiji all composed kritis in the Dasa Sahitya genre. At the time of Sri Vyasaraja and Vadaraja came someone whom we regard as the Pitamaha of, of Carnatic music, Sri Purandara Dasaru, and his contemporary Sri Kanaka Dasaru. Both of you who used the Dasa Sahitya format and really expanded the sheer volume and depth of Dasa Sahitya to touch as high as 4,75,000 kritis that Purandara Dasa is believed to have written, and Sri Kanaka Dasaru. And then, with a bit of a gap, came three people who were inspired and blessed by Sri Raghavendra Swamiji. Though they were not his contemporaries, it is very evident in their stories that they were heavily influenced by Sri Raghavendra Swamiji's Vyasa Sahitya and who were recipients of his benevolence. Sri Gopala Dasaru, Sri Vijay Dasaru, and Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. All three of them were contemporaries. There is a small mistake in this chronology. It is Sri Vijay Dasaru, Sri Gopala Dasaru, and Sri Jagannath Dasaru in that order. So Sri Purandara Dasaru, Sri Gopala Dasaru, Sri Vijay Dasaru, and Sri Jagannath Dasaru are very, very important pieces and the cornerstones on which Haridas society actually rests. And that is why, as a tribute to them, they're called the Dasa Chatushtaya or the quartet. And in that comes Sri Jagannath Dasaru. So, what is unique about Sri Jagannath Dasaru is that he is closest to our times. And his contribution has been so unique, and we will see more of that as we sort of go along about how he has helped us enrich our lives. So there is a shloka which was composed by one of his disciples where he says, Jaladishta Nibakaram, Jagadisha Padashrayam, Jagati Talavikyatam, Jagannatha Gurum Bhaje. That is the Sri Jagannatha Dasa Sannidhi, which is there in a small town called Manvi, which is in the Raichur district of Karnataka. That is where his Sannidhi or his Samadhi exists even today. So we will get to know more about his story. So his story actually starts in a place called Vyagavata. It's called Vyagavata, but there is a Sanskrit name which is called Bhagyavata, and that over a period of time got distorted in pronunciation, and it's now called Vyagavata. Vyagavata is again a small village in the Manvi Taluk of Raichur district of Karnataka, and he was born in the year 1727 in Vyagavata. He was born to his father, Sri Narasimha Dasaru, or Narsappa as he was called, and mother, Srimati Lakshmama. Now, the important thing to note is that his father himself was a Haridasa Sahib, Haridasa. He was a village accountant, as they used to call in those days as Shan Bhoga. Somebody made a false, accusation against him of corruption, and in a moment of deep sorrow, he quit that position and took up the role of being a Haridasa Sahib, Haridasa full time. That means all his time he would donate, he would spend spreading the Dasa Sahitya and composing his own songs. So that was Narasimha Dasaru and Srimati Lakshmama, his wife. As luck would have it, they did not have children, and they got the divine message that they should visit Tirupati and pray to Lord Venkateshwara or Srinivasa. They did that. And one of the unique things that Narasappa and his wife would do, that every year they would go to Tirupati to participate in the Brahmotsava. Even to this day, participating in the Brahmotsavam at Tirupati is no mean task, because it's a it's a very glorious event. But there are always many people who come in, and it's not easy to even get a glimpse of the Brahmotsavam at that point in time. So those days it was no different. Thousands and lakhs of people would throng to the temple, but without missing a single day or single year, Sri Narasappa couple visited the Tirupati every year, and they prayed to Lord Srinivasa to bless them with a child. And as per divine will, they got a male child, and they named him Srinivasa as a tribute to the god himself. Srinivasa, of course, grew up to be a very bright child, extremely talented, and very scholarly from his younger days. Seeing his unique talent, his father got him admitted to the Gurukula in Mantralayam. As is the case now, even those days, Mantralayam had a very prominent Gurukulam, already enriched by the presence of Sri Raghavendra Swamiji a few decades before that, and his illustrious disciples, all of who were fantastic scholars. Amongst them was one such person by name Sri Balaramacharya, who took the young Srinivasa and Srinivasacharya, as he became later, into his tutelage, and he taught him the basics of Madhva Shastra. Sri Balaramacharya himself was a profound scholar, and in the years to come, he took the sannyasa diksha and ordained the Pitha of Sri Mantralaya Matha itself, called and came to be known as Sri Varadendra Tirtha. His Vrindavana is there even today in Pune. So those of you who are from Pune or who have been to Pune would know this. And if you have not gone to Sri Varadendra Tirtha Swamiji's Sannidhana, which is there in Pune, please do so in your next visit. Again, a person of profound scholarship, he tutored Srinivasa to become none other than Srinivasacharya himself. He he became so famous and so well known for scholarship that even at a very young age he would be given what is called Hegalu Divetke Maryade. That means they would carry a flame in front of when he was walking from one place to the other as a mark of respect. Now it is very common that when there is darkness or when it's night, to use a flame for lighting in those days was very common. But Hegelu Divatke means the light they will carry even during the daytime as a mark of respect. And he was given a mena, as we call it, a place where he would sit on a palanquin and he would be taken from one place to the other. Again, all this he earned because of his scholarship. So that is the brief story about his birth and his initial childhood. Even as a very young boy, he would pray to Sri Hanumanta, and he has established an idol in the Bhagavata place. And you can see the picture on the right of Sri Hanuman temple also. The story then unfolds in a new location for Sri Srinivasacharya. So after graduating from Mantralaya, he comes back to Bhagavata and he announces his decision to start a Gurukula, a school, a scriptural school, a Vedic school. And he realizes that there many people were interested, and they would come and then join the school. But unfortunately, the space was not enough for them to actually stay together and then be able to learn the Vedic scriptures from Srinivasacharya. So he decided to move to a neighboring town, which is bigger place than Bhagavata, called Manvi. Manvi Taluk, even today, is the Taluk headquarters for Manvi Taluk, and even those days it had some prominence. So he went there and he announced his decision to start a Gurukula there. And there's a person by name Sri Desai, who owned a large house, offered that house to him. However, there was a catch. The house was believed to have been occupied by an evil spirit, a Brahma Rakshasa who was troubling anybody who would go inside the house. The house was very well built, beautiful building, but unfortunately, nobody could go there because of the evil spirit trying to disturb that person's peace of mind. But Srinivasacharya would have none of it. He liked the building and he said, look, if this is, I need a building of this size so that I can teach here, my students can live here peacefully, and we can all study the Vedic scriptures. And a place where the Vedas are being taught, the Madhva Shastra is being taught, there cannot be an evil spirit. So don't worry, nothing would happen to me. I will boldly live in this house along with my family and my disciples. The Brahma Rakshasa had no choice but to leave the place, go away. The house became very, very auspicious and free from any negative forces that existed. So, how did this happen? We have to go back to Sri Raghavendra Stotra, where there's a line which says, Bhuta Preta Pishachadi Pidam Tasana Jayate. That means whoever thinks about Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, there cannot be a place for Bhutas and Pretas, or the demons and devils and ghosts. And that is exactly what happened. So, one lesson that we learn from Sri Srinivasacharya is that it is not enough just to learn a shloka by heart and keep repeating it without any conviction. Over a period of time, this mere recitation should get into our mind, and we should really start to believe what is said in the stotra, understand it to the best possible extent. Today, there are a lot of online resources available for us, which give us at least the basic meaning of these shlokas, if not the great meanings. And when we get to the simple meanings, we will become eligible to learn about what are the deeper meanings a particular shlokas has. So that's the first lesson that we learn from his life. That whenever you believe in something, you believe in God, you believe in the gurus, they will come and protect you, not just in the world that is beyond, but in this world itself. So he establishes the Gurukula in this place called Manavi. Over a period of time, many, many students come and join the Gurukula and want to learn from the great scholar. Looking at this, Desai, who previously had given this house on a temporary basis, actually donates the whole house to Sri Srinivasacharya. And from then on, he begins to live there forever. But there was one life-changing experience that was awaiting Sri Jagannatha Dasaru, or who would become Jagannatha Dasaru, Sri Srinivasacharya, in that very house. And this is how I think the divine forces come together to help us. Whom does he meet one fine day? It is none other than Sri Vijayadasa and Sri Gopaladasa, two of the most profound Haridasas of not just their time but of all times. We have heard their stories and their greatness in the previous sessions. If anybody has missed those sessions, I would request them to go through that story. We have briefly described Jagannatha Dasa's story as well in the story of Sri Vijayadasa and Gopaladasa. So Vijayadasaru and Gopaladasa are Haridasas. And Sri Srinivasacharya was a Sanskrit scholar at that time. And with that scholarship, some ego had crept into his being. So he did not believe that people who had composed kritis in Kannada really understood the scriptures. And he thought about superiority of the Sanskrit language over the Kannada language. And he did not give too much respect to people who were Haridasas. So it is believed that Sri Vijayadasa was his own uncle, maternal uncle. But even though he came to that particular town, Sri Srinivasacharya never welcomed him to come home. Sri Vijayadasaru and Gopaladasa were staying in a Hanuman temple. It's called the Sanjeevaraya temple. We will see the picture in a few moments. And that is where they were staying. And Sri Vijayadasaru then would go lane by lane, road by road, seeking alms. The real purpose was not really to seek alms, but actually to bring in the concept of learning at your doorstep. Probably this is the first incident of a mobile university. The Haridasa Sahitya started that, where Haridasas would go door to door to teach the great aspects of Haridasas, of Madhva Shastra, in a format which could be understood by everybody and at their doorstep. So Sri Vijayadasa and Gopal Dasaru came at Sri Srinivasacharya's doorstep to speak with him. So very reluctantly, Sri Srinivasacharya came out and he told his wife, "Who is this Vijayadasa? His name is Kusi Maga Dasa." So Vijayadasa's mother's name was Kusi, and to make fun of him, he just said Kusi Maga Dasa, almost humiliating him. So Vijayadasa then told Sri Srinivasacharya that, "Oh, great scholar, we have come to your city, and tomorrow is Dwadashi day. So please come to our house. Please come to the Sanjeevaraya temple for your meals today. So today is Ekadashi, everybody is fasting, but tomorrow we will have the Dwadashi Parana. And so please come and attend that the meal, and please accept the meals that we have to offer, the Naivedya." So very reluctantly, Srinivasacharya agreed that he would come. But the next day, what happened was Sri Vijayadasaru sent words with Gopala Dasaru to go and fetch Sri Srinivasacharya at the time of the lunch. Sri Srinivasacharya, in his state of extreme ego, had already finished his lunch. And when Sri Gopala Dasaru came to invite him, he actually told him that I have actually had my lunch and I will not be able to come. I have a certain problem in my stomach, because of which if have a lunch late, then I get a very severe stomach ache. So I will not be able to come. Sri Gopal Dasaru was very upset with this because he knew that Sri Srinivasacharya had some reservations. So he went back and to Vijay Dasaru, and they continued with their event. And subsequently, Sri Vijay Dasaru and Gopal Dasaru, over a period of time, left that place to on their way and on their further pilgrimage. Sri Vijay Dasaru is an Aproksha Gnani. So he could immediately make out that whatever Sri Srinivasacharya had done, he would repent for it. But in that repentance lay a very big lesson which would change the life of Sri Srinivasacharya. So no sooner had Gopala Dasa left Sri Srinivasacharya's house to go back and proceed with the event, that Srinivasacharya got a stomachache. A stomachache which started very mildly, but within a few hours and a few days became so profound that he had to be bedridden. He could not even stand up, and very soon it appeared that he is on his deathbed. Unable to take the pain, he tried all the medicines. When that did not work, he went to Tirupati to pray to Lord Srinivasa. From there, again he did not get cured. So from there he went to Ghatikachala and prayed to to Pranadevaru or to Hanuman. Again he did not get cured. So one of the kritis that Sri Jagannatha Dasaru has written is Apavritti Parihariso Anila Deva, where he says that please stop me from dying in an untimely manner. And then from there he went to Mantralaya and prayed to Sri Raghavendra Swami. Roga Harane Kripa Sagara Sri Guru, one of the very famous kritis of Jagannatha Dasaru, is believed to have been composed at that time. But in the night, he got a message from Sri Raghavendra Swamiji in his dreams. He said, "You have actually insulted Sri Vijay Dasaru. So there is no point in you seeking repentance anywhere else. Imagine you have lost, your mobile phone in a car, or you left it in your office. Is there any point in searching for it at home when you know that you left it at the office? However far your office may be, you have to still go and search there." And that's exactly what Sri Raghavendra Swamiji advised him. That go back to Sri Vijay Dasaru and seek repentance from him, and he will cure you of your stomachache. From there, so he goes to Chipgiri, meets Vijay Dasaru. And Vijay Dasaru then says, "I have had no ill feelings towards whatever happened. But yes, my disciple Sri Gopala Dasaru was very upset with with what you had to say or what you did. So please go to him." And then from there, he went to Sri Gopala Dasaru fell at his feet and to seek repentance. So Sri Gopala Dasaru got this inspiration and got a dream, a message from Sri Vijaya Dasaru that indeed he has to save the life of Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. So he went on, and then he told Sri Gopala Dasaru, Srinivasacharya, that yes, every day I will do the Naivedya to the God and offer you two rotis, or rotis as we call it in Jowar. It's made of Jowar, Bhakri. So he would do that and offer it to God, and then offer it to Sri Srinivasacharya. Every day he would eat that and it acted like a divine medicine. So Sri Gopala Dasaru not just gave him the Naivedya, but with each roti he gave them two every day. He gave Sri Srinivasacharya 20 years of his life. So 20 into two rotis, 40 years of life was gifted by Sri Gopala Dasaru to Sri Srinivasacharya. What a great miracle and what benevolence. A person can give anything he wants. He can give and somebody else wealth. He can give him all the good wishes. He can give somebody love. But give his own life to somebody else is unheard of. It calls for a divine benevolence, and which is what Sri Gopala Dasaru, the kind-hearted soul and the divine being he himself was. And of course, the big thing was inspiration from Sri Vijay Dasaru, who told him, came in his dreams and said, you should give your life to this person, because one, his lifetime has ended. If you don't do that because of the stomach ache, Sri Srinivasacharya might not survive. And second thing is, he's got a big task ahead of him, and that is what he will have to do going forward. So if he does not live, then obviously he will not be able to perform any of those great tasks for which God has sent him on on this earth. So from there, blessed by Sri Gopala Dasaru, Sri Jagannatha, Srinivasacharya then pleads with him that can you give me the Dasa Dikshe? Can you make me a Haridasa also? I would like to follow your footsteps. To which Sri Gopala Dasaru says, you will find your answers. Go to Pandharapura. Pandharapura, as we know, is a small town in Maharashtra and it's an abode for none other than Sri Purandara Vithala himself. That is a place where uh, uh, Pandharapura Krishna and Rukobai, or Rukmini as we call them, they are they're instated there. It's a very famous Puranic temple, and next to that is a beautiful river. It's the Bhima River, but when it touches the Pandharapur, it is called the Chandrabhaga Nadi. So that particular river is very famous even today. So Sri Srinivasacharya goes to that place and takes bath in the Chandrabhaga river. And when he's taking the bath, he dips into the holy water 3 times, as is a norm. He does it twice. But the third time, when he comes up, he feels that some heavy item seems to be hitting his head. And he wakes up and he finds that there is actually a wooden piece on which was written Sri Jagannatha Vithala. So that became his signature, or Ankita. And all his kritis he has composed with that signature called Jagannatha Vithala. So that was a direction from none other than Sri Vithala himself. That is also the place where Dasa Dikshe and Ankita was given to Purandara Dasa also. So, in such a beautiful environment and a holy place, Srinivasacharya became Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. So, of course, Jagannath Dasaru from there went on a all India tour of pilgrimages. And on his way, there's a very interesting story about his visiting Srirangapatna. So he goes to Srirangapatna and he is welcomed into the house of the minister to Hyder Ali at that time, Diwan Purnaya. Diwan Purnaya himself was a Sudha Pandit. He had graduated in the Nyaya Sudha and a very profound scholar, apart from being, of course, the minister in the Mysore palace. So he would be staying in Mysore, and Sri Jagannatha Dasaru visited his home. Of course, being a busy, very busy man, he did not have time to meet Sri Jagannatha Dasaru often. So he would tell his wife that please take care of him and give him some money and give him whatever he wants. And when he decides to leave, please ask him to go. So he did not spend too much time with him, and he did not think of very highly of him either. So slowly, when Shri Jagannath Dasaru was there, he started giving lectures or sermons in the evening in Mysore, and it was believed that hundreds of people would come and actually attend those lectures. But as luck would have it, slowly, because of his profound scholarship and his devotion, and today with that great knowledge, was also joined with his great humility that he had acquired, um, because owing to his past experiences, he had become a very attractive scholar for people to listen to. So the word spread that he was actually speaking very well, and whatever he said would touch the hearts of the people. Of course, Divan Purnaya was not very impressed even when he heard this. One day, he was leaving his home to go to the palace, and he saw Sri Jagannath Dasaru drawing the rangoli, as we call it. It is a beautiful design, and as we will see shortly, Jagannath Dasaru, apart from being a great scholar, being a great poet, was also a great artist. So he had drawn the picture of Sriranganatha from Srirangapatna. So there is a temple in Srirangapatna, a little away from Mysore, a, a temple of Puranic significance, and Sri Jagannath Dasaru had drawn the picture of Sri Ranganatha. And Divan Purnaya looked at the picture and he said, something is amiss. So he looked at Sri Jagannath Dasaru and said, "Oh Dasare, I think there is something missing in this picture. You have not put the crown on the head of Lord Sri Ranganatha. How come you seem to have missed it?" To which Sri Jagannath Dasaru gave a shocking answer. He said, "I am looking at the Sri Ranganatha idol and drawing this. Today, I think the priest, by oversight, has not put the crown on the head." She, Divan Purnaya thought that Sri Jagannath Dasaru is pulling a fast one. So he immediately sent somebody on a horse to go and check whether that was true. And to his surprise, the guy on the horse came back and reported that yes, indeed, by oversight, the priest had forgotten to put the crown on Sri Ranganatha's head. So with that, the Divan Purnaya realized that Sri Jagannatha Dasaru is no ordinary soul, but someone who had come with very deep spiritual background, and he should respect him. Of course, he respected him, and in his honor gave away a lot of wealth to Sri Jagannath Dasaru, which he promptly took with him, went to Manvi and gifted it to several Brahmin families and several other needy people, and of course used that money to ensure that many hungry people were fed and taken care in the Gurukula as well. Sri Jagannath Dasaru, even today, the wealth that he had accumulated keeps the temple in good state. Now, it is very common that whenever the Aradhana festivals of great people are celebrated, it is very common for those temples to seek donations from different people so that to cover off all the expenses which are incurred. Sri Jagannath Dasaru is the only exception where even today the Aradhana Mahotsava of Sri Jagannath Dasaru is celebrated with the money that he had earned. The interest from the money that he had earned is used to celebrate. Of course, people are free to donate, but the event is not dependent on anybody's donation. Just goes to show how important scholarship is and the wealth that it can beget in the spiritual format as well as in the real format. Of course, one needs to know how to use that wealth and put it to good use. So till then, because he was a great artist and he used to draw beautiful rangolis, he was called Rangoli Dasaru. But Divan Purnaya changed it, saying, "No, you're not Rangoli Dasaru, you are Ranga Valida Dasaru." That means someone on whom Sri Ranga himself has been benevolent about, and he has blessed him. So this is one very interesting story about Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. The other story actually is even more fascinating. There was once a situation where a thief would visit Sri Jagannatha Dasa's house every day in the night to steal something. But then he would see Sri Jagannath Dasaru there, and he would get very nervous and anxious and he would run away. Sri Jagannath Dasu actually had seen the thief, but being a very kind man, he would say, "Oh, this person is thieving because he's trying to steal something because he doesn't have money." So this happened for many days. Then one day, the thief came again to steal something from his house, and he actually managed to, to steal a small vessel, and he was running away with that vessel. When Sri Jagannath Dasaru called him and he said, "Don't run away. I can see you. Please come here and give me that vessel." So very, very nervous, the thief thought that this Jagannath Dasaru is going to catch him and is going to beat him up. But he did none of that. He just took the vessel and said, "Look, I have composed a Narasimha Suladi. Why don't you recite it every day? Maybe it will do you some good and get you some wealth instead of stealing other people's property." So he took the vessel back and gave him, I taught him this, the Narasimha Suladi. Even now that Suladi is available and is recited by many people to overcome all the obstacles and to get the divine grace of Sri Narasimha. So the thief did that, and apparently in a few days became so rich that he came and donated some of that wealth to Sri Jagannath Dasaru. So everybody asked Sri Jagannath Dasaru that, "What did you do? And by the way, when you had everything to give, why did you take back that the vessel back from the thief?" To which Sri Jagannath Dasaru gave an unbelievable response. He said this person was stealing because he was poor and he did not have money. So when he took the vessel away from me, in my mind I donated it to him. But when I asked it back, it was his vessel and he gave it to me. So it was his donation to me. And because he had donated it, he had got that punya. And I wanted him to get that punya. That is why I asked for the vessel back. Had he taken the vessel and gone away, it would have been a papa against his name. But now that papa got converted into punya. And because of that, he got the grace of being able to recite the Narasimha Sulana. So such is the behavior of great men. And it is very clear that they have taken incarnation in this world only to be able to guide and correct the behaviors of others. They're great gurus for this particular reason. So another story which is very inspiring about Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. So one of the greatest things about Sri Jagannatha Dasaru, as we discussed, was the Dasa. He comes under the Dasa Sahitya, Dasa Tetushtaya, and these are his kritis. The magnum opus, unbelievably, is nothing other than Sri Harikatamritsara. So when Sujit asked me about the fact that we should do this session today, I said any session on Sri Jagannath Dasaru has to be done in two phases. One is his life and works, and life and all his works, and the other one is on Sri Harikatamritsara. Because Sri Harikatamritsara is a magnum opus, unparalleled in its quality and quantity in the entire philosophical world. There is no other kriti written in the native language which covers off the Vedic philosophy, and in this case, Madhwa philosophy, as comprehensively as Sri Harikatamritsara. So we'll talk about the highlights in a minute. The other great kriti that he composed was Tattva Suvali. Again, a series of short poems, believed to be about 1200, that unfortunately, we have lost a lot of them. And today, only about 450 of them exist. And of course, they have been published by different mutts and different organizations, along with the names, along with the meanings. So, Harikatamritsara, Tattva Suvali, he has composed many Suladigalu, Ugabhoga, all this we have actually described in the previous workshops about what these are, and several Devargamas. So, and he has, before he became a Dasa, Haridasa, he actually had written two shlokas, Sri Varadendra Pancha Shloki, again on Sri Varadendra Tirtharu, And his other guru, Sri Satyabodha Tirtha Uttaradimat, Sri Satyabodha Panchashloki, he has composed these kritis in praise of two of his gurus. But those are in Sanskrit and they were done before he became a Dasa, Sri Haridasa. So Harikatamritsara and Tattvasuvali and Suladi, Ugabhogalu and Devarnama, along with the two shlokas, are some of his works. So one thing which I could not help observe is that whenever we look at a picture of Haridasas, whether it is Purandaradasa or Prasanna Venkatadasa or Kanakadasaru or Vijay Dasaru or Gopala Dasaru, we always see them, singing along with a tamburi and they are walking on the street. That is because that is exactly what they did all their life. Learn from great gurus and then spread that knowledge in the form of Haridasa Sahitya. But whenever you look at a picture of Sri Jagannatha Dasaru, he is also Haridasa, but he is always seen sitting and writing a book. And that is the unique feature of what his contribution was in the form of Sri Harikatamritasara. So, what is really special about Sri Harikatamritasara is that unlike the other three Dasa Sahityas who did not have any formal education, Sri Srinivasacharya was a profound scholar. It is believed that he had done the graduation ceremony for the others, which is Shiva Nyaya Sudha Mangala, 108 times, which by itself I think is a record. Performing the Das Nyaya Sudha Mangala even once is a profound activity, but he had actually had 108 batches of students graduating under him. So he had very formal education in one of the best Vedic universities of that time in Mantralaya under a great scholar, Sri Balaramacharya, and therefore whatever he composed has that absolutely indelible stamp of scholarship of Vyasa Sahitya on it. And it was his duty and it was his goal to ensure that and demonstrate that whatever is there in the Vyasa Sahitya and is the same thing which is reflected in Vyasa Sahitya as well. Now, this was done beautifully by Sri Purandara Dasaru and Sri Gopala Dasaru and Sri Vijay Dasaru, but in the form of a text. So you can say that it is in that sense the first text along with Haribhakti Sara of Sri Kanakadasaru, which is a textbook or an encyclopedic work of the Haridasa Sahitya. All the others were songs, short poems that were written in the praise of God and explaining different aspects of the philosophy. But Harikatamritsara is one single textbook. It was meant to be written as a book. So all the 32 chapters, the order, the way it moves from one chapter to the other is extremely deliberate and extremely concise. So, what is Sri Jagannath Dasa's greatest contribution? Without blinking your eyes, you can say that it is the composition of one of the greatest texts of our time, Sri Harikatamritasara. So that is why we call it a magnum opus, because it is very, very comprehensive. It is vast and it's comprehensive. Like Sriman Mahabharata Tatparnirnaya and Sriman Nyaya Sudha. Why do we say that they are magnum opus? Is because they cover all aspects of philosophy without letting loose the grip of the Dvaita philosophy. So Mahabharata Tatparnirnaya is of course a treatise on Sri Mahabharata itself, and it brings in the entire knowledge set of Madhva philosophy in one place. And so does Srimad Nyaya Sudha, which is a commentary on Sri Madhwacharya's Anuvyakhyana. So along with these two, Sri Harikatamritsara, and of course there are other texts as well. One in this vast ocean of knowledge, clearly Mahabharata Tatparnirnaya, Srimad Nyaya Sudha, and Sri Harikatamritsara are always recognized. So that is why I have put this equation, which is mathematically wrong, but spiritually absolutely correct. That all the learnings which are explained in 37 Sarvamoola Granthas of Sri Madhwacharya is encapsulated beautifully in just one text, which is Sri Harikatamritsara. So if there is any mathematics class where 37 is equal to 1, it is indeed the highlights of Sri Harikatamritsara. As we all know, which is when we look at something like this, we have always heard that whenever something is composed in Sanskrit, to be able to understand that better, one needs to translate it into another language, because everybody does not understand Sanskrit, even, and to the depth that is sometimes required to understand scriptural text. But have you heard of any other a text in any other language where which have been translated into Sanskrit? Yes, don't think this is a mix up or a slip of a tongue, as they say. It is indeed Harikathamritsara has commentaries written on it in Sanskrit. Now, why did people who wrote it in Sanskrit, why did they do that? Because when they studied the Harikathamritsara, they said it is so profound, and only Sri Jagannatha Dasaru can and has the scholastic ability to encapsulate all the learnings in Kannada without there being any compromise in the rigor of the philosophical text. It is possible only for Sri Jagannath Dasaru. We cannot do it. So the way we understand Sri Harikatamritsara is actually to write a commentary on it in Sanskrit. And it's not one commentary, there are several commentaries written on it in Sanskrit. Of course, there are a lot of lot of commentaries written by other great scholars in Kannada, which in many ways is not surprising. But a Kannada text with a commentary in Sanskrit is extremely unique. So, if there is one clear takeaway from this session, is that we should all make an attempt to study the Harikatamritsara. It is very, very rare to find one single text which encapsulates such a wide variety of topics, all captured in beautiful poetic form. And it is very common to find many people, especially women. It's very popular with the women who have learnt the whole Harikatamritsara by heart, and it is almost a ritual in many many traditional homes even today, that the women of the family cook the food reciting Shri Harikatamritsara, and because they recite it loudly in that too in a musical form, everybody at home ends up actually learning it by heart. So it's very common even today that we have all learned parts of Harikatamritsara only listening to the women out of the home actually reciting it on a daily basis. And that is the essence of Sri Madhwa philosophy. That is the essence of Haridasa Sahitya as well, where our Haridasas encouraged us to go out there and think about these philosophical aspects every stage of your life, every minute of your life. Philosophy is not something that one does for an hour or two in a day and then forgets and says, okay, my life, there is business as usual. Philosophy is to be applied every single moment. God's existence has to be felt and acknowledged every single moment. Can we all say that one moment I will not breathe? No. If a person misses a breath, you know what it is. For that, just hold your breath for a minute and we will know what is the importance of breath. Imagine the importance of God, who is even more important than the breath. So that is the central message that Harikatamritsara gives us in several ways. It is about the omnipresence of God, the omniscience of God, the omnipotent nature of God, and the profound importance God has in everything that we do. So if somebody is that important, that person must be very far away. Dasa Sahitya very clearly says, no, that person is not very far away. He is very, very close to us. How close is God to us? As close as it can get, because He is right in our hearts. He is there in every cell of the body, energizing everybody, every moment. So for people who believe, no, I don't think I need energy every moment. All that one has to do, yeah, I eat my food, I get my energy from food. So look at all those millions of people who are unfortunately do not have the food. One can say, no, if I give food to everybody, maybe they will eat. There's so many people who may have the food but can't eat. And even if they eat, they can't digest. Look at all those millions of people who are in hospitals and they need, an external machine for them to be, to get nutrition. So therefore, if there was no power source which was energizing everybody at every minute of everybody's life, every second of everybody's life, how will we work? How will each cell work? And one cell does not work even for a minute, then our body starts to become stale. So to understand philosophy, one has to read texts, but at the same time observe the world around him, and then the greatness of God will be understood. These are the profound messages, and unfortunately, no matter how much I try, I don't think I will be able to explain the beauty of Harikatha Sara. It is like this. If you've eaten a favorite fruit, no matter how much you describe how sweet and how what a glorious taste it has, there is nothing like giving that fruit to somebody else and asking him to eat that. Similarly, is the great experience one gets when one picks up Sri Harikatha. That itself gives people so much of joy. And as we go through that, reading it day in and day out, it becomes a way of life, not for one, not for two, but for several generations put together. So that's about Sri Harikathamritsara and Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. So there are some, the way he describes the greatness of God and our relationship, it is unparalleled. So I will read out some extracts for your benefit for a few minutes. He says, Malagi Paramadhariti Padalu Kulitu Keluva. If somebody is sleeping and he recites the name of the God is sitting and listening to him. The person who is reciting, the devotee is actually sleeping, but God will be sitting and listening to him. Kulitu Padalu Niluva. If somebody is sitting and singing, he will stand up and dance. Nintare Naliva. If somebody stands and sings, then that person is going to be dancing. Nalidare Olive. So he says, if you dance, then I will bless you, is what God talks about, that God talks about you. So imagine what a beautiful way to bring out the grace of God. And we always think, oh my God, how much should I do for God? How much should I pray? Imagine for every step that we take, right? God takes 10 steps towards us, right? Then we say, oh, you know what? I have all the intention, but I don't know when to remember God, because when the day starts, there are so many activities. And as a grihastha, I have to perform my duties. I have to go to office. I have to go to college. I have to cook. I have to take care of my children. I have to do so many things. When do I remember God? Even for that, He has got a solution. He said, when do you think about God? You have to think about it at all times. When ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಆಡಿಸುವಾಗ ಮಡದಿಯನ್ನು ನಲಿವಾಗ. So when you are playing with your child, when you are spending time with your spouse, ಹಯ ಪಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿ ಗಜ ಮೊದಲಾದ ವಾಹನವೇರಿ ಮೆರೆಯುವಾಗ, whenever you are going around and experiencing all the luxuries of your life, ಬಿಕ್ಕುವಾಗ, when you are having hiccups, whatever is happening in your life, in all these circumstances, Devaki Sutta, that is, think about Lord Krishna. And people who think about Lord Krishna throughout all these activities or these types of activities will never ever go to Naraka or the hell. So these are extremely practical tips for our lives. We all feel that. So why don't we make it a habit? Internalize God and integrated him to our daily lives, instead of saying, I'm going to think about God for the 30 minutes of meditation I do when I'm thinking about Vishnu Sahasranama for 20 minutes. No. Why give up a single opportunity, a single moment in one's life to think about God? So these are some extract. I'm just, as I told you, it is a very profound kriti, and there's no way we can understand that in a jiffy, but just wanted to give you the richness of what is there and the manner in which such profound thoughts have been presented. And all his kritis are like that. Siri Ramana Tavajarano Dorogobudu Haginnu Parama Papishtha Nanu. It is like almost like a confession letter. that Jagannatha Dasaru is writing. He's saying that how will I get your grace, O Lord Sri Hari, when I, whatever I do, my mind does not seem to go in the right direction. He says, Padarayana Krita Bhagavata Kelpali Adarave Huttalilla. Imagine all the great kritis that Badarayana or Sri Vedavyasa, meaning all the Puranas, he has written, but my mind never seems to go there. ಪಾದಿಗಳ ಮತವಳೆ ಅಳಿದು ಮಧ್ವ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತದ ಹಾದಿಗೆ ಹೋಗವಿಲ್ಲ. What means what? There was all this great thing happening around us. There were philosophical debates, and where the superiority of Madhva Siddhanta philosophy was being established. Imagine I was walking around so indifferent to the whole thing. ಶೋಧಿಸಿದ ಚಿನ್ನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮರಾದ ವೈಷ್ಣವರ ಪಾದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೀಳಲಿಲ್ಲ means that those people who are equivalent to 24 carat of gold, they're so precious. The great scholars, the great people who are giving us the gnana, Vaishnava greats, I never fell at their feet. They were all around me. ವೇದ ಬಾಹಿರನಾಗಿ ಅಪಸವ್ಯ ಮನನಾಗಿ ಓದಕೊಂಡೆನೋ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ. I never went in that path of seeking knowledge. ತವಚರಣ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣ ತವಚರಣ ದೊರಕುವುದು ಹ್ಯಾಂಗಿನ್ನು ಪರಮ ಪಾಪಿಷ್ಠ ನಾನು. Such a great sinner I am, because no matter what happens, with all the greatness, with all the great people around me, I am not going in that direction. My mind doesn't work. So it is a way of analysis. Imagine what a superb self-analysis and what a great template that we can all follow. So if at any given point in time one wants to be in a state of introspection, they're coming to the end of 2021, and all of us hopefully will get some time to reflect on what happened and what has happened, not just in this year but in our life so far. I think this one song and an honest self-analysis will give us what should be our philosophical direction in the coming year. Whenever some child is in 7th standard, he's always aspiring, oh, I've got to go to the 8th grade. A student in class 12th grade is thinking, which college should I be joining, which course should I do? Everybody in our work saying, okay, when do I get my next promotion, when do I change my job, when do I build my next house, when do I buy my next car? But how many of us are thinking from a philosophical step, that what is my next step, where do I stand, and where should I be, and what are the profound opportunities, right? Is something which is something that never crosses our mind, unfortunately, and that he has composed in the form of kritis. So I would really encourage, all these resources are available on the net. You can take it and you can read it, and of course I'll be happy to help understand any of these topics, because some of them are a little abstract when you read it a little out of context. So please reach out to me if you have any questions that are follow. So of course there are more extracts. Phalavidu Baldudake. So which is that what do you think is the symbol of success? See, today we are living in a metric driven world. So we want to measure everything, right? So this is a beautiful template. Phalavida Baldudake is one of his very famous kritis, where he says, okay, what is the picture of success? Phala, what is the fruit, and what should one get? Siri Nilayana Gunagala, Tilidu Bhajisude, Aritu Bhaji, some in some version, it's Aritu Bhajisude, Phalavida Baldudake. That means understanding God and his great qualities, and then being able to pray to him is nothing but the success in our lives. So of course I wouldn't have time to explain all this. This itself is a beautiful kriti. If we make this habit that every day we will read at least one padya or one canto of Sri Harikatha, that itself is an absolutely life-changing experience for all of us. Sri Jagannatha Dasaru had a very, very rich lineage of disciples. I will not go through each name. He ordained many people in the Dasa Sahitya, Dasa Diksha, and gave them Ankita. And all of them, again, have written commentaries, have written follow-up works to many, many kritis that he has actually composed during his times. So I will encourage you to read this list in greater detail. And this is the place where after such an illustrious life, he attained Samadhi. That place is his house in Manvi, the same house that he had entered, that what was gifted to him by Desai. And this is that Sri Jagannatha Dasaru Katte, or that pillar where he attained Samadhi. Next to that, you will see the unmistakable tamburi, which has got so much of artwork. It's full of beautiful scriptures, beautiful artwork written. It has got a nice picture of Lakshmi Narasimhadevar on it. Of course, here it is not visible, but if you go to Manvi, you can see it from a fairly close distance. They actually, it's kept in a box. They bring the box and they show it to you if you request them to do so. So again, when we hear about, if you go and ask people over there, they will guide you to a series of hills, rocky hills, which surround Manvi, where Sri Jagannatha Dasaru has done excellent artwork. He's actually drawn many paintings using paints at those days. Even today, they are so bright that they sort of stare back at you, and you think it was just done very recently. In fact, we also when we went there, we also got a little confused that it must have been, sort of somebody has tried to rejuvenate it and maybe they've repainted it. But we were told no, these paints, nobody has touched it, it has been preserved, and nobody has done it off late. It is the same paint which Sri Jagannath Dasaru himself had written. So all in all, his life has got many great lessons for us. And one of the big lessons from his life that we can learn is the fact that everybody makes mistakes. He also made mistakes. But being a smart person, being a knowledgeable person, he also knew how to make amends. If we learn the scriptures, what happens is, it is not that we will not make mistakes. And people who read the scriptures don't do mistakes. That's not the idea. We are all human. We all make mistakes. But if you are in the spiritual path, God will help you from by coming up to come out of that situation and get you on the right path. Right? If you're driving somewhere, what is the job of the GPS? Yes, even GPS goes wrong sometimes, but over a period of time it corrects and you can come back on the right path if you have the GPS. That spiritual GPS is nothing but Madhva Siddhanta. And I would encourage you, and this is a humble request from me, that sometimes we get very overwhelmed that there is so much of scripture, there's so much of knowledge. Which one should I prioritize? To that, the answer is, if we can't read anything else in our lives, we can pick up a copy of Sri Harikathamritsara, written and translated into Kannada by many scholars. And whichever scholar that we follow, we should read Harikathamritsara, because that has got the great benefit that, number one, it's in Kannada, which everybody can more or less understand, and it has been translated into simple language in Kannada itself, and one can study that. And what one will realize is that there's a big connection between whatever is said in the Harikathamritsara and can be found with the other parts of our scriptures, be it the Vedas, the Upanishad, Sarvamula Granthas, the Tika Granthas, and just showing how Harikathamritsara maps to different chapters of different scriptural texts itself is a great exercise, but of course something which will take probably hours. Recently, our Guru Sri Vyasankara Prabandhanacharya has written the next edition of Sri Harikathamritsara. He wrote this book long time back, almost 20-25 years back. And from then on, he has been revising this book every time. So the latest one is in 3 volumes, so that it doesn't become too bulky. He has actually split it into 3 volumes, volume 1, 2, and 3. This book has got released recently, and I would request everybody to purchase this book. It is available on Amazon.in, or they can contact his phone number, which I will paste in the comment section. They can contact that person who actually ships these books to wherever you are. So I know many of them you are from US. You could actually, anybody who visits India can take multiple copies of this and take it back with them for the benefit of everybody. Or please let us know if I can help in any way to ensure that these books actually reach you. But it is very important that we make an attempt to at least study one text, which is like a summary of everything that we need to learn in the Madhva Shastra. That's why it's called Hari Kathamrita Sara. That means it's a summary of everything that has to do with the Hari Katha topic. So that is Sri Harikathamritsara. But here is the next thing. There is a movie which has been released recently on Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. Many of you might be aware of this. Please do watch it. If you are in the United States, there is a OTT channel which is available. I am told KOTT dot. I can't see the full address. It's KOTT.tv. You can read that. You can watch it there, and you can. There is a Facebook group as well as it's available on YouTube, and there's an official trailer and all this. Recently, they had screening of this in several theaters in the US, is what I understand, and it is all set for a theater release in India. I had the opportunity to watch the movie's premiere. It's a beautiful, very well made film. It is not just talking about Sri Sri Jagannath Dasaru's life, but also giving many lessons on Dvaita Sahitya itself, which I think has been very well done. Extremely rich musical content, as you would expect in any story of on any Dasa Sahitya topic. Many kritis have been rendered beautifully by the actors themselves. Many of them are people who are acting for the first time. But when you watch the movie, it doesn't look like an amateurish effort at all. It's very done, very professionally and very well done. This is part one. This will be followed by the second part where they will speak. There is a movie which is being shot only on Harikatamritsara. The first part is on Sri Jagannath Dasa's life, and the second one is on the topic of Harikatamritsara. So please watch this movie. I'm sure the children would like it as well because in that format. So all this we are able to bring it, all these lectures that we've been doing, we are bringing you under the aegis of Madhwacharya for the Youth, an organization that we established 15 years back. So we would like to continue giving these lessons. If you go to Madhwacharya for the Youth YouTube channel, you will see many other lectures which have been given in English, which are covering the basic aspects of Madhva philosophy and which have touched almost all aspects. So we are having the last session of that on the Brahma Sutra topic. As many people have this impression that Brahma Sutras are very difficult to understand. We have tried to simplify it and something that can connect with everybody in their daily life. So we have brought out a series of lectures on that, and as also covering other aspects like the basic 9 tenets of Madhva philosophy and so on. So these are the different channels that all this will be available. Please follow us. Every time we do this, you will get a notification. And if you have any questions or you want to be a volunteer with us, please do write to Madhwacharya for the youth at gmail.com. I'll be posting all these links in the YouTube channel when this actually goes on for deferred live with this. So that's about Madhwacharya for the youth. Yeah, we can move to the next one, Murli. We'll talk about it. So I'll take a short break and see whether you have any questions to answer. I know we have already overshot the time, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have on this.
So, Sundar, nobody has posted anything, but I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Jagannatha Dasaru's, Srinivasacharya's father was a Haridasa, right? But I don't know why, for some reason, Srinivasacharya kind of was looked condescendingly upon the Haridasa culture as such.
Yeah, so he was exposed to that, but I think this is what is called prarabdha karma, right? Which is basically our past sins. Now the thing is that when an approksha gnana, like Sri Jagannath Dasaru gets it, it is called prarabdha karma. That means it's like something which is there as a balance which they have to get rid of us. But if somebody is not an approksha gnana, that's called prachina karma. Basically saying that there is just too much to overcome. So it is not going to go away very soon. Prarabdha is something which is going to go away pretty soon, and then they are on the path to get their salvation. So this is not a isolated incident, Sujit. As you have seen from the lives of many people, whether it is Sri Jaitirtha himself or
Mhm.
Sri Vyasaraju, all of them had these life-changing experiences where the way they looked at life, the perspective sometimes had to change very dramatically. We learned that in the story of Sri Purandara Dasaru, Sri Vijay Dasaru himself, Sri Gopala Dasaru, all of them. And in some cases, of course, there have been never such moments, and they had that realization from birth. Our own Sri Raghavendra Swamiji is like that. Sri Vadarajaru, Sri Vyasarajaru. There was no such incident that changed them and corrected their perception. But sometimes you need that a wake up call, as we call. So this is a spiritual wake up call. So many of these things happened. So though you're right, his father himself was a Haridasa. He did not think of it as a way which can match the profoundness of what Sanskrit language can be and what texts in Sanskrit can do. Sanskrit, as we know, is a technical language. Unlike any other language, Sanskrit is a technical language which allows you to do a lot more things. It's very common. A coding language can obviously do much more than English, right? So it is
Yeah.
like that. So that kind of a conflict existed in his mind, and that is why this had kind of. So we have to remember, by the time the Jagannath Dasar actually came, Dasa Sahitya was a very well established form of uh, school, because you have to go back to all the way up to Madhwacharya's times. So basically, if you look at it from somewhere, for at least for a good 500 years, Dasa Sahitya existed. And we
Mhm.
can very safely assume that more Dasa Sahitya was available in those days than it is today, because we have lost many kritis, thousands of them, in fact, uh, today, which existed at the time of Sri Jagannatha Dasaru. All in all, I think it was divine will that he gets that wake up call, and from then on, as we know, he never looked back. That was enough.
Mm.
But for many people, lesser souls than him, despite getting these repeated wake up calls, people don't get up.
Thank you. Mohan has a question there, I think.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting this question, which says that, as always, yeah, the lecture was good. All the books you mentioned are in Kannada. For people who can't read Kannada, any suggestions? I think that's in many ways a limitation that we have today. That there aren't enough English texts which are available, right? Harikatamritsara, as I know, has been translated in English, but that is, in my opinion, it is not doing justice to the book, because a lot of these translations, a lot of things get lost in the translation. So my only request is, I know many of our viewers who are on this call, probably for them Kannada is not their mother tongue, and they have not learned Kannada. But I'm telling you, if you learn Kannada even now, to be able to read the Harikatamrita, it's a very worthwhile objective. uh, at least to be able to read the translation, even if you're not able to read Harikatamritsara directly and then understand its meaning, at least the translation, if you are able to read in Kannada, that will be great. As a follow up, Sujit, I will share with you a list of all the English resources.
Mhm.
Somebody shared this link recently in one of the groups, and it has more than 20 books which are available online in the on the topic of in English, covering different aspects of Madhva philosophy, but not specifically to Harikatamritsara, which I think is Mr. Sri Mohan Nagarajan's question. So I think we have a limitation, Sri Mohan, but I would seriously request you, even if it is very slow, and I will give you my own example. I never studied Kannada as a language, but when I started learning the Madhva Shastra, my guru told me that yes, you stand to lose a lot, because number one, you don't know Sanskrit. Now you don't know Kannada. So how will you read? And by the time all these texts are translated in English, I think we are very far from that situation. So please don't wait. Even if it is a little slow, start reading in Kannada, start learning the basic language. Kannada is very much like Hindi, as you know, in terms of the usage of the language, usage of the letters. So please learn Kannada and try and read these books. Even if you read one page a day, you will see in a month's time you'll be able to read much faster and you'll get the purport.
Good. Yeah, I think since we've, is there any other question? We'll just wait for 30 seconds to see if anybody posts anything else. Yeah. Anyway, I think once again, thank you very much, Sundar, for I think not just for this particular pravachana, but I think for during the course of this whole year. I think, as you said, we had a great start on Madhunami Day, and starting with the life and works of Madhwacharya to all his disciples and the whole lineage, right? And then we kind of transitioned to the Dasa Sahitya, right? First, we understood the 9 tenets of Madhwa philosophy, which is kind of the foundation, and you also kind of gave a good view of the overall structure of the hierarchy of the granthas, right? And tying it back to the Mula granthas, basically, right? And and of course, the Dasa Sahitya was basically the one was basically the Gnana. I would call it more of the Gnana Vruksha, and the other thing is the Bhakti Vriksha, the Dasa Sahitya. And as you said, the Dasa Sahitya basically is a parallel. It's not kind of disassociated with any of the scriptures, right? It kind of encompasses the entire gamut of scriptures. You talked of the Tippani Granthas all the way till Brahma Sutras, right? It kind of captures everything. So, and you gave a good, very good, excellent kind of talk with referring to all the different Haridasas, including the quartet that you mentioned. And one thing that still amazes me is, I mean, we're all most of us are in the corporate world. I don't know how you find time to actually kind of study this in detail and depth, to the level of depth where you actually have to present it in great detail with such aplomb, right? And hats off to you, and you're a great inspiration to all of us. And we're hoping that we'll continue this in the next year also. And as we said, we kind of discussed it offline. And I was just thinking that maybe Harikatamrita Sara may be a good segue, basically, right? Because now that we've kind of established some level of understanding on all the lineage of Madhva as well as the Dasa Haridasas, I think we can go straight away go to the magnum opus as you mentioned it, and start learning something about, at least even if you get an ounce of it, right, an iota of knowledge from that, I think it'll take us a long way, right? I mean, like you mentioned the example of the thief, right? So I think it's good to steal from Gnanis as much as we can, right? I think so. And as you mentioned, I think it has been a great Gnana Yagna overall this year. And definitely, as we come to the close of this year with the holidays coming up, I think it's a great time for reflection. And maybe I think I would encourage all the participants to basically visit the web page from NESRSB Gnanakalpavruksha, where all these would be actually posted. Maybe it's a good time to revise, take stock of all that we have learned this year, so that we're ready for the next year when we go to the next topics. Most likely, it's going to be Harikatam Dasara. And once again, I would like to thank the audience for kind of being with us through the whole year with a lot of interesting comments and questions, and hope to see you all again back next year. So again, thanks to Murali Avaru, because always behind the scenes. He's there kind of coordinating the StreamYard presentation. And thanks to RV and Sheena Sauru and also Shyam Avaru for kind of being part of the Gnanakalpavruksha team and helping this whole program take it to a good level of fruition this year with both these two subtopics that I mentioned. So once again, thank you all. So Sundar, any last words you want to mention for this year? Any
Yeah,
word of advice?
yeah. No, I think Sujit, you have sort of summarized it very well. You just said that when does one find time? I don't think we have to find time at all. It is there is a beautiful shloka which Madhwacharya says. He says that prarambha matra ichhava Vishnu karmena nishphala. That
Mhm.
means you just have to decide that you want to start. You don't have to start. You can decide that you want to start. And Vishnu karmena nishphala. It will not go waste. It is amazing to see, and it's my own experience, and I can talk about it forever. About how when you take one small step towards God, which we think itself is a very big step. He takes 10 steps toward you. So I don't know how many books I have got by, in a miraculous way. Even though I was yearning to read it, but I never got it. And I've found those books and those sources of knowledge, great gurus, all because of the grace of God. I think, our gurus, if you tell, we are all greatly inspired by Sri Raghavendra Swamiji. Why did he come into this place? We all know him to be a divine being. Why did he come? It's like, for somebody living in a palace to
Mhm.
come and, stay in a slum area, if I may say. In But why did he do that? His only goal was to give people the right knowledge. And look at the amount of personal sacrifices all of them have made to
Yeah.
do this. When you go to Manavi today, though Sri Jagannatha Dasaru is very well known, even now, those places are so difficult to live in. Imagine what would have been the case 300, 400, 500 years back. So they've all toiled to give us this gnana. And imagine, when, after all, one day all of us have to go back on, to God. And we can probably answer every question that he can answer, he can ask us. But if he asks and he says, I sent you into the world, I gave you the Madhwa philosophy, which you could read. And imagine you came back without reading it.
Mm.
What an embarrassing moment, and how will we rationalize it, and how will we answer ourselves? The greatest thing that we can achieve, and we should do, is study the Madhva philosophy. There is no substitute. One year we don't do Raghavendra Aradhana, it is okay. But if one day, 1 minute, we don't read Sri Raghavendra Swamiji's books, that's the loss of a lifetime. That's absolutely unpardonable. And imagine the special significance of Sri Harikathamritsara, which has encapsulated everything. You don't need a second book. There is always a sequel to every book. For Harikathamritsara, the sequel is reading it again. And you can keep doing it. You don't have to go anywhere. You can keep doing it all your life. And every time it appears like with a new version. Because that is the Jagannatha Dasaru's magic. And he was inspired, we hear by the gods themselves who said that we are empowering you. And he got that 40 years from Gopala Dasa's life into his own life. What did he do in that period? He wrote the Harikathamritsara. And Gopal Dasaru passed away shortly after that. That means it was true. He
Mhm.
did not, when he gave away his lifetime, he didn't have a life of his own. So he passed away at the young age of 40 years. Whereas Jagannath Dasaru lived for 40 more years and he wrote this book. So, only thing I would request all of you at the end of the year is that I know, it is in Kannada and it is not something, which everybody can understand overnight. So, my simple request is get these books written by Dr. Pravachanacharya. He has delivered many lectures on which are available on the website vyasamadhva.org. You can go there. A lot of them are on videos also on YouTube. Also, many of them are there. You can listen to a few chapters. Don't worry about the book, but just listen to the pravachanas, upanyasas.
Mhm.
That will familiarize you with how to navigate that space. It will give you like a navigation tool about how do you read a canto. How do you make sense out of it? Why is it called this particular? There's a name of every chapter. So why is it called like this? What are the content? How does one go about it? How does one analyze? Where are the what are the kinds of tricks that Jagannath Dasar used to educate us? For example, he will say Niraja Bhavanda. So nobody will know what it is. So Niraja, Nira is water. Ja means something that grows in water, which is lotus. Niraja Bhava. Who is born in the lotus is Brahma.
Mm.
Niraja Bhava is Brahma. Brahmanda. To talk about the universe, he says Niraja Bhavanda. Why does he do that? He could have as well said Brahmanda. But he does that to educate so that we get to know all these things. Especially the first Kriti, which is, talking about all the gods. You should see the beautiful stotras that he has made of each of the gods. Unparalleled. You will not find such a beautiful Shiva Stuti anywhere in the world. about how beautifully described. So once you hear the lecture, it becomes much easier for you to go and read that book. So
Correct.
listen to the lecture, read the book, read that particular chapter. Once you complete one cycle with one chapter, you're all set to completely be reading the book from then on. So do that. And as I said, this Palavida Bhadradaki is an excellent self-analysis tool. It says what is picture of success. And Siri Ramana Tavacharana Dorokabude hang in no Parama Papishthanam. That's the story, that's the thing. So you can listen to that song and just analyze your own life. It will have from then on we will not need any corrections. I think that itself will take care of everything. So those words, many thanks to everybody, Sujit, Murli, and all the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present whatever limited knowledge I have on these topics, and really would like to take it forward in the coming years with a very structured and quick approach and help everybody learn that much more. And someday, if things improve next year, look forward to meeting many of you in person when I travel to the US. So till then, thank you and have a great weekend. Thank you. Namaste.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Hare Srinivasa.